Good evening. Hope you've had a good day. Welcome to the show. This is the day. My name is Medrin Nyambura. As I've teased on radio today, we are talking about the 2018 career trends. So if you're a job seeker, if you're seeking to move to another position, either for growth or a better opportunity, and you're wondering what will happen in 2019, this is the show for you. We're live on Family TV, also live on Family Radio. At any point, feel free to get in touch, 20316 0786 316 316. And I have two gentlemen. It seems this week ni wanaume. Two gentlemen who are going to cover these very well. We have Emmanuel Mutuma, CEO of Brighter Monday. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
We also have Tony Washira for the millennials. He says he's a millennial consultant and trainer, and you concentrate on millennials and emerging trends.
Yes.
Thank you. We've been looking for somebody to fight for us. Asante sana.
I'm a millennial. My wife calls me a millennial apologist, so you're in safe hands.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'll start with you, Tony. What are some of the jobs that we could say will not be phased out, even in the wake of technology, the trends that are coming up? What's the few that could remain constant?
I'll name some jobs. At the same time, I'll give a disclaimer.
Okay.
And say that it's more of the skills that we need in the 21st century that we need to concentrate more on than the jobs.
Okay.
Having said that, there are jobs that we still are going to need now and in the future. If you read a lot, you'll see that we are living longer. So there will be a lot of healthcare related jobs that, because we're going to need healthcare professionals.
Okay.
In a country like ours and in developing countries, there will be a lot of development happening. So that we are going to need people in that industry. We're going to need engineers, we're going to need architects, we're going to need something that people don't think about a lot, trades people.
Okay.
People who do skills like welding, people who do skills like, excuse me,
sorry,
building, and who have skills in building and construction.
Okay.
So there will be jobs in those sectors. But going back to what I had said about skills, it's more about placing yourself in the right place in the 21st century.
Okay.
There are skills that are necessary to survive in the 21st century that were not big in, say, the 20th century. And the big four are really collaboration, communication, critical thinking, and creative thinking.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm happy for the creatives because you said creative thinking. Yeah. Emmanuel, you own a platform that helps people get jobs. And maybe I'd ask you, what have you seen in regards to the trend? What's coming in now? What are some of the jobs that are pretty hot and what's phasing out?
Cool. So thanks again for inviting me.
Karibu.
Job space is ever changing for various reasons. One is that people have to keep on updating themselves based on the products that they're selling, the technology, and various things. So we've seen, especially even in the last 5 years, we've seen some jobs which are being phased out, while others are increasingly having high demand in the market. Mm-hmm. So having said that, there's quite a number of jobs that we're seeing a trend that is increasing from employers who are advertising on Brighter Monday. And the jobs that are really sought for, especially, are jobs dealing with humans. I think there's no replacing that. Mm-hmm. If you have to deal with a human being, like a human resource, there's no way of using a robot or automation to deal with people. Maybe people will improve on structures and processes, but the field of human resources and training is a hot field where you have to engage with people while technology facilitates. Other opportunities we've seen increasingly high demand skills, now that we have digital media, everyone is using the internet. We've seen a country like Kenya where we have over 30 million devices connected to the internet. That's quite powerful. Okay. And people on the move are using that tool to consume information, to read or to share. Mm-hmm. So digital analysts, digital marketing jobs, social media, and the likes are really high demand, and people are looking for very specific skills around that. Okay. Other areas is, of course, as people are looking for better ways to do their businesses and improve on speed, there has to be now engineering, in terms of now looking for ways to shorten the way they are doing their jobs, or even software developers, and they're becoming very specific now with the skills like PHP, the new emerging skills, to develop and all that. So mostly technology jobs, but again, it's very good to see that the human aspect is not being forgotten, and I think it's going to be there for a long, long time.
Okay, thank God, because AI is coming so fast. I'm like, calm down. We still need our jobs. So on your platform, people come to look for jobs, and I'll be asking you what they need to pay attention to. But Tony, my millennials have been accused of not being very good job seekers. True or false?
It's mostly true, sadly.
Okay, Tony.
Sadly,
you are fighting for us.
I am fighting for millennials. Yes, I am a millennial apologist. However, the way we name these generations is based on the period at which they were born and grew up and their influences at the time.
Okay.
So you'll find that the HR managers that they are finding half the time are of the boomer generation or the X generation, and they speak a very different language. And so I'm actually in a group of training and HR professionals, and there's this young man who wrote there another day, PLS, I'm looking for a job in XYZ. If you can hook me up, THX. And somebody whose title is something coach said, I'm praying for you to actually get a job, but you actually need to check your language.
Yes.
So they forget that job seeking is a little different than socializing.
Okay.
So they bring their social profile to a very professional place. And our HR people have not evolved or are still rigid or are correct. So I don't know which side to be on there, but they're the ones who are hiring. So you should conform to that standard at the very least when you're applying for the job. Okay. When you get in, maybe the culture will actually surprise you. But there are some standards that we have got to keep that they have not learned to keep yet.
Okay.
I would say it may largely not be their fault, but they can learn as well.
Okay.
Yes.
So, sorry, PLS, is that please?
That's please, yeah.
Oh.
PLS and THX would be thanks. I should be asking you.
Let me tell you, I feel like I'm caught up in the wrong generation. I don't know half of these things. Yes, please. I know THX is thank you. Thanks. Okay, sawa. So I just asked you when we came in and I said, I applied for a job on Brighter Monday and I didn't get it. And you said you get this from so many people. Yeah. So what do job seekers need to know from your experience? What do they need to know?
Sure. So, that's the most question that I'm asked whenever I go. So I expected it.
Okay.
If someone tells me that they've used Brighter Monday, I know, oh, shoot, what's the next one? Please tell me that you got a job through Brighter Monday, because that makes me like, yay. However, job seekers should understand there's a lot of demand. The level of demand for job opportunities is larger than supply in the market.
Okay.
So you'll find, if I have to give some few stats, which may be a bit boring. So on our platform, we have about 4,000 jobs which are advertised every month. And this is really like stretching ourselves out to get all the jobs available for our audience because they need the jobs.
Okay.
From the 4,000 jobs, you'll find we have over 100,000 job applications that are done for those few number of jobs.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can imagine, just for job seekers, they should think like an employer or an HR manager, because a hiring manager, what they're looking for the right match. Yeah. So you shouldn't assume. If your strength is a certain area, you need to update that within your profile.
Okay.
Because for an employer, it takes them an average of 9 seconds to go through a CV. So imagine someone who has about 4 pages CV, they just browse through it to capture the key requirements before they move on to the next CV. 9 seconds? 9 seconds, it's like a matter of life and death.
Yeah.
So if you have not captured the right skills that you whatever you've done, the right keywords, based on the job description that was advertised on the platform, then there's a very high likelihood that you already knocked out before you go to the next step.
Okay.
So what we're doing, we're trying to use technology to help employers rapidly filter application through what we call an application tracking system.
Okay.
So they receive like 1,000 applications for a job that they published on our platform. So for them, actually, maybe they may not go through each of the applications, but they may do a filter. So does this person meet these criteria in terms of years that they have worked somewhere? Have they mentioned that they have done this keyword, which is a certain skill? For those that don't appear, already they miss out.
Okay.
And this is the opportunity, because I like to educate so many people that they should actually understand what their profile is, what their strength is, and that should be clearly communicated in the CV, but in a summarized way.
Okay. I hear you. So when you talk about keywords, let's say, I don't know, what do I use? My job. So you say you need good communication skills, you need to be fluent in English, Swahili, you need to be a good writer, you need to do this, you need to listen to criticism, you need to take instruction. So do you use the same keywords in your CV? Is that what you do?
So you mentioned that, yeah. You have to do that.
Okay.
Ideally, if you're a journalist, communication is something that shouldn't miss out.
Okay.
Working, I want to put that in quotes because it doesn't have to be paid work. You could say you did a project for family media, and I attend this and this call, which is very specific, as you explained through a case study.
Okay.
So that's what needs to be there. Yeah, in a very summarized way, showing what you can do, because sometimes it's not about what the paper says, but if you have the right keywords, I always say that a CV is like a billboard. Yeah. So it doesn't actually, it brings you closer to an opportunity of getting a job. Okay. So a CV is a tool, is a profile that creates awareness to the end user, and if they like what they see, they invite you for an interview, and that's where you sell now your soft skills, which Tony is talking about.
Okay.
That's where people measure attitude, measure what you've done in detail, quantifying whatever you say that you've done. So you're just going to explain how you do it, and that's where you spend most of the time, and that's where the hiring process starts.
Okay.
So a document should showcase what your strength areas are.
Okay.
Can I read
yes,
on that
go
a little
ahead,
bit? In addition, a lot of people like to say that I am this, I am that. They should actually use more action verbs. I have done. Like Emmanuel is saying, it doesn't have to be paid work per se. So you can say what you have done, and I have found that numbers speak more to HR people than anything else. If you are able to say, I converted X, I don't know what the process was, maybe you are able to change the process and make it more efficient. Maybe you are able to increase the sales volume with X percentages or something like that. That one is actually more appealing. And in the 9 seconds, I think those are things that somebody can spot. They come out to that person who's looking at it.
Okay. I'm even thinking the number makes the CV shorter. If you get to the point, as opposed to explaining, I have done this, I did all that.
I increased it
from
this percentage to this percent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tony, are you surprised that CVs still work? Because many people say, okay, you don't need a CV, you need a connection. Are you surprised CVs still work?
Actually, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not surprised that they work. I'm not at all surprised because I have seen people, I have heard that, we are all Kenyans, we've heard that you must know someone. However, you get surprised every once in a while when you hear someone. I know a friend who recently left a job in a bank and got an even bigger job. And she left not because there was a problem. She just left out of something she felt, I need to move on. And she applied to a different bank, not knowing anybody. And she got a very good job. And I've had many stories like those. So I'm actually, what's that word? Very positive. I believe, and I've seen that they actually work even now.
Yes. I'd like to add on that. When you mentioned the word CV, people still have, a CV. Some of them have a summarized resume. These are tools that we've borrowed historically, what has always been there.
Okay.
So we're seeing a transition. Yes, people still have CVs, but you transfer those CVs into profiles. Like what we have with Brighter Monday, you go in and you structure that data so that it's readable through other tools now, because we're going to talk about AI and technology.
Yes.
Because at some point, tools are used to match your skills to the job that the employer is advertising.
Okay.
So that's being very clear on the relevance of CV and transformation into profiles in what we have, like in our job board, like Brighter Monday.
Okay.
I think apart from that, I think branding yourself, and showcasing what you're doing communicates even larger than a CV.
Okay.
So if you say you're a journalist and you send a short clip of an interview you had maybe this gentleman, people will see that you're actually doing it.
Okay.
So people, we are going to a digital age where people are consuming more photos, pictures, and video. Yeah. So if you can accompany it with that in a strategic way, and you can be found either through social networking sites or job boards like Brighter Monday, then it's good to include those profiles. in what you're doing.
That makes a lot of sense because old school meets new school and they complement each other.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. We'll be talking about technology and what that has meant in 2018 from China, who's decided to have news anchors who are robots. I still don't know how I feel about that. Let's listen to music and then we'll continue this conversation. Today, the trends. I Hope Kid with the song Pray For Me. We're live on Family TV, also live on Family Radio, still hanging out with Tony and Emmanuel, talking about the trends that were really, really hot this year, and then we'll also look at what to look forward to in 2019. Tony, iko shida. We were watching a clip of, and this went viral a week ago, of this robot in China who's anchoring news. I don't like it at all. But do you think AI is the future?
I think AI has a future, will be applied in some spaces, but not in all of them. And like we were saying earlier, there are fields that just need the human touch, and that cannot be replaced. But sometimes we think AI is only a humanoid robot that comes and talks, but AI is that Safaricom lady who tells us, mteja wa nambari unayopiga hapatikani kwa sasa. So there are spaces where it is actually applicable. Even if we would actually prefer, we the user, would still prefer to interact with a human being. It has gone haywire. I mean, every other company has got some teleprompt that tells you things like those. So in some jobs, yes, AI and robotics will take over, but not in all of them, for sure.
Okay, thank you for the hope. Same question to you, Mano.
A very interesting field. From where I see it and how I see it, AI is an enabler. Yeah, at this time and age, we're concentrating on improving the user experience. There are various ways you can improve the user experience, either by delivering the service faster, or more accurately, or just being a star in how you deliver your service.
Okay.
And I think artificial intelligence, automation, and machine learning technology is being deployed just to improve on the user experience to the end customer. So to me, I think artificial intelligence is a good thing. I've just shared previously, we're going to use technology to match profiles with jobs that are available in the market. What does that mean? To an HR manager, it means that they are going to identify the right candidate faster. Okay. And that's what they need because they have a bottom line to meet. So as I've shared, artificial intelligence is there to enable speed and execution, but the human touch is always going to be there.
Okay.
Even in machine learning technologies, it's called machine learning ideally because it has to be fed by humans, by experts. Machines don't have emotions. That's a very critical, thing that
That's true.
Or required to deliver the service to the end user. So I look at it as an enabler, and what that means is that some jobs will entirely be phased out in a way. Jobs which are very repetitive,
Okay.
Now we don't have those manufacturing firm where you have to fix,
Yes.
a tie in a car the whole day. It's not even fun if you ask me. People need to be more creative. There are more opportunities which are being created, while those repetitive tasks have to be left for machines and improvement to improve on processes.
Okay.
You mentioned about the journalist anchoring the news. I just watched that on YouTube a few minutes ago.
My heart is so broken.
Interesting, but I saw another one.
Yes.
A lawyer. We're seeing fields like legal. So you have a lawyer that has to go through a NDA or a standard contract. So they gave it somewhere in Europe. They gave it to a machine learning or AI tool and a human being. So a lawyer went through the NDA within 20 minutes and had accuracy rate of 85%.
Okay.
But what AI did was that it actually went through it in half the time, maybe 10 minutes, and had an accuracy rate of 98%. So there was speed that it took and the accuracy that we're looking at here. So, but again, that's why I said specific contractual, like NDA, they can do that.
Yes.
But if it's a complex contract that, intergovernment contracts and things like that, that's why I say people will still be required and lawyers will be needed to execute on such
Okay. Go ahead, Tony.
And going back to what we were saying earlier, it's about skills that are going to enable us to survive AI, because AI is coming. we're just seeing the beginnings of real changes, like that one of now anchors taking jobs that we are so used to seeing humans do. So it's really about positioning ourselves with the right skills to survive the new industrial or the new revolution that is coming. Skills revolution, some people call it the fourth industrial revolution.
Yes.
Yes. So it's really about positioning ourselves with the right skills. Because sometimes I like asking people, when I was growing up, there was a skill called shorthand.
Hey,
Some millennials don't even know shorthand. Shorthand. People went to college to learn shorthand.
Yes.
Today, it's not marketable.
Yeah.
It has been wiped out completely. And we were talking about mteja wa nambari uliopiga. Those were switchboards, and very few companies have those now. So there will be skills that will be wiped out. That is a fact. So how do we position ourselves for the jobs of the future? Some of the jobs have not been created. Okay. A lot of statistics say that the jobs of 2030, 80% of them, we don't know them. The jobs of 2030. That's crazy thinking about it.
2030 is like 12 years from now?
Yes.
Okay.
It's shocking, but 10 years ago we didn't have digital. You had Emmanuel talking about a big field. One of the most exciting fields now is of digital marketers and people who just know how to advertise and to help you make money using social media. Some are called social media managers. There are many, they have different titles, but they have, because it's still a new technology, there's a few people who know how to use it and how to leverage their skill to help you make money. So there are many jobs in that area. Will it be the same in the future? I don't think so, because there are younger people growing up with that technology.
Generation Z.
Yes, they're growing up doing that. So it will not be a hot cake at the time, but it's really about learning skills that are going to help us stay relevant regardless of the changes. Yes.
You're talking of that generation that doesn't know what a Nokia is. The iGen, they only know iPhones. No, too. You alluded to personal branding earlier.
Yeah.
And one thing that we have seen is that people are now very focused on my personal brand. People have websites, people have LinkedIn profiles that look really nice, where, say, if Tony calls you and they're saying, oh, there's a job opportunity, you can easily send the profile, your CV's there and everything. So in 2018, is it still important to build your personal brand?
Goes without saying, 100%. I think of personal branding as networking, like a room networking, which is amplified. Why I say so is because I believe everyone has skills. Everyone is good at something.
Okay.
And at this internet age, where everyone is powered to brand themselves online using their smartphone, then it means increasingly people should just go into that direction. So from a jobs perspective, personal branding comes from, we have a platform and we have companies that are looking to attract the right talent. And we have, even on our website, ways that they can position themselves to attract good people, because even companies are desperately looking for good people.
Yeah.
So like including their logos in strategic areas or promoting their content to certain people through their inbox or things like that. So we see increasingly that. And even on social networking sites like LinkedIn, you mentioned that. I was just talking to Tony earlier. He told me, I see what you do on LinkedIn.
Yes.
I'm like, that's the essence, because my target audience and the people that I work with are professionals, and I want them to see what we're doing to serve them better.
Okay.
So LinkedIn is my channel. I told him, if you go to my Facebook profile, there's hardly anything there, because I interact with my close friends closely, maybe now more on WhatsApp directly, or I can send something on Instagram, if I go on holiday, but not as frequent and strategic as LinkedIn for me.
Okay.
So I think for young people, I think it's very important for them to understand which area they are in, either from the conventional employment, these are white-collar jobs, or even, unconventional, or, entrepreneurship. Yeah. If you have a product line, you have a channel where you have to create a branding and showcase what it is and demonstrate to your audience. This is very different from 10 years ago, where maybe you needed to run a newspaper advertisement to show what you're doing. You can get good reach, which is quantifiable through that. So personal branding goes without saying, a lot of value that you can get from it.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for that, because, there, especially, again, this generation, many people get jobs online. Maybe you don't even have to apply. A company will call you and say, we've seen your video, it got 14,000 views, would like to work with you. But then let me ask you, how do you make sure, Tony, that you are hard in a space where it's so noisy. It's so noisy. People are saying too many things. So how do you make sure your personal brand stands out?
As a job seeker, as an individual?
Yes.
Okay, I'll go back to what Emmanuel is saying. You need to pick a profile that's right for your career, for lack of a better word, because if you're an entertainer, for instance, and now entertainment has become a mainstream job that people do and earn a living and live off. So if you are, say, an entertainer, you may not fit very well on LinkedIn. That's not what we want to see when I'm following Emmanuel.
Yes.
That's really not what I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm looking for an entertainer, I'll go to Instagram. Of course, if you are looking for the traditional white-collar job, we know that, and I've met a lot of people who do not optimize their LinkedIn, and I ask them, you're looking for a job? Do you have a LinkedIn? Do you have a LinkedIn profile? Do you have a LinkedIn account? Because now there is where you create your profile, and then there are groups that you can follow that are in your areas of interest.
Okay.
And you can contribute and share ideas, such that because the HR of today is very savvy, and they will check you out. They will check you out on LinkedIn. They will check you out on Facebook. They'll check you out on Twitter. So that if you are a guy who likes shouting profanities on Twitter and you're applying for a job, you may have the qualifications, but we are afraid this person may bring these profanities, or we don't know what they're going to post. So a lot of times we are creating a brand, but we are not aware, because we are living in an age when we are so naked, but we don't realize it. Because there's so much of our information out there. There's so much data. We are shouting. You're asking how we shout. Sometimes we shout, but we don't realize it. So it's upon us now to go back to those social media and sort of carve out a niche. If your interest is, say, in sports, let's see a consistency that you really are into sports. If it's on Twitter, that's really what you do.
Okay.
That's really what you like, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
If you are on Facebook, because those would be probably the best channels for things like those, and Instagram, not say LinkedIn. But there should be a consistency.
Okay.
Unless, like Emmanuel is saying, if you really differentiate them so much and you want to use, say, Facebook for social, let's just find that what you do there is social, and it is something that is palatable. Not pictures of you drunk, rolling on the floor. The employer, they are very savvy employers. I heard, just to add this one there, I heard there are such savvy HR people,
yes,
who even check your WhatsApp profile photo. You will call them with your line.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, just to extend on that really briefly.
Yes.
We are talking about the element which, as a job seeker or a user, you can control. There's another element you should also be aware of, which is taking your offline to online through even Google search. So what happens if someone searches for your name? What's out there? People should look at reputation management for the case of understanding, who they are, because people actually do that.
Okay.
Employers now, as it was before, you used to give 3 people as referees and they call them, but it doesn't work like that now.
Okay.
Your information is out there, and they'll actually go look, search, and verify all that before they get to the person you referred them to.
Emmanuel, have you Googled yourself?
I do.
Are you happy?
I'm happy.
Tony, have you?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay.
From experience.
I think everybody should Google this.
Google me.
Once in like 3 months, Google yourself, because there are people who will tag you in photos.
Yes.
And you're thinking, I don't want to be party to what you're posting on Facebook. It might cost me an opportunity. Fresha, you're saying millennials. I think I'm in a different kind of generation. Something millennials do. Oh, yeah, ma'am, don't worry. It's okay. Just kazana and listen today. We also have Fred. Fresha, you're asking, what do you mean by LinkedIn? Oh, the platform. How do you say this, Emmanuel?
It's a social networking
It's a
site.
social networking site for professionals. LinkedIn.com. When do fungue account leo? We also have somebody else saying, enjoying the show. Have a blessed Tuesday evening ahead. Asante sana. If you have any comments, just send them to 20316 and I'll sample them for any questions as well. Now, let me ask, Tony, you've sort of touched on this before I get to Emmanuel. The young people have global exposure.
Yes.
And I'll use Lupita Nyong'o as an example. Well, in Kenya, she knew she could apply to Yale and she did and got it.
Yeah.
Somebody else would apply to another university, say in Italy, and get it. There's that exposure.
Yeah.
And people feel, or rather experts have expressed, that it comes with limited loyalty, because I can move to South Africa anytime, I can move to another company anytime. So how do employers ensure that you can retain your young workforce despite the exposure they have?
Okay. Which I have had this a lot of times, that millennials especially are accused of job skipping. They are, when they're applying for jobs, they even skip some of them because they've been in 7 jobs in 2 years. One of the things that we need to realize is that they are a different generation, and we need to, how do I put this? We need to, first of all, realize that they are different, and then offer a workplace that works for them.
Okay.
Now, that doesn't mean that that you change the entire workplace, because it's half the time you work with a multi-generational workforce.
Yes.
But I'll put this out there. I've visited Emmanuel's workplace, and it's an example of a place that it really is designed for millennials. But if you work there, you feel more creative.
Okay.
You feel more energized. You are bubbly. It's almost difficult to go there and have a bad day. I'm very serious. It's really colorful, and I believe this concept was borrowed from Google. There are many videos about Google. If you see the Google workplace, it doesn't look like an office. It looks like a playground.
I really like the bean bags. They look so nice. Yeah.
So when we move with the times, we need to, even if there are some offices that we can't change too much, we need to be a little more creative. Like a bank teller, I don't know how much we can change that, but we can be more creative about making it appeal to these people so that they don't feel like they are locked up in a cell the whole day long. It just calls for some creativity. And then beyond there, opportunities, because the millennials, they have a very different mindset. They want to grow. Ask any millennials, especially those ones with a degree. I have quizzed a few people, and they said, when I was leaving campus, I was going to change the world. And sometimes we hear this and we think that the only people who think that are people from the West. I've actually written some few articles on millennials on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And I've gotten a few questions from that. Somebody asked me if the same scenario is in Kenya of millennials acting a little, they want to change the world, they want to be involved in a cause.
We sound like dreamers.
Yes. And the thing is, we don't have hard facts, but anecdotal evidence points to that. That's how they feel, especially because, like you say, they are very exposed. So it calls upon the organization to be very creative to accommodate this new workforce. Why? Because the mean age in Kenya is 19 years. Kenya is a teenager.
We have a lot of work.
We have a lot of work.
Yes. So
the next chances are the new employee that someone is going to hire is a millennial. If you're not thinking of how to retain these people, because we cannot do a one-size-fits-all, but you must be very creative to make them want to work for you, to make them want to stay, because there's something they are looking for. That's why we need to do a bit more research. We know that they want to change the world. We need to involve them in causes that show them that they're changing the world. We need to show them a bit of attention. They're the selfie generation. You just need to make it look something like what they like to do.
Yes.
Another writer wrote and said that if you're looking for millennials, go to where they hang out. Instagram, go there, see what they talk about, see what interests them. When you find those things that are interesting to millennials, sometimes you can even search your own stuff. See what they like. See how you can tailor their surrounding or their work environment to things that they enjoy, so they actually enjoy working there.
Okay. Yes. Actually, that's true. People will look for fulfillment beyond the check, beyond the money. I can actually believe that. In the same, breath, let me ask. Social media has allowed for people to work independently. I shared a story with you earlier, and maybe I'll share it as well, where, we required somebody to come here, and they felt they didn't need this platform. They're like, I have 100,000 followers on Instagram. What do I need from you? So social media has allowed for a lot of independence, where you only need a brief from, say, a creative director, and you execute the whole thing with your team, post it on Instagram, they see the engagement, they're happy. So are we seeing a world where people will work more independent of the old structures that we have?
So it's a mix, because when you ask me about trending or new ways to work, as Tony was sharing. Of course, there's some changes because if you look at the world, it's a global community, so we can follow international trending topics or what people are sharing in other continents. And if young people are spending most of their time on social media following these trends, it means that the way they are thinking and what they're expecting is different from how we grew up. Having said that, when it comes to social media, it cannot be an independent unit. Now we say that even when you go to a sitting room and people are watching TV, there's always that screen, the mom is here, your dad is there, and la la la,
yes.
which is a way of doing things. But the social element or the traditional way of doing things is still important.
Okay.
Collaboration, you cannot go away from collaboration. You need teamwork. You need to have the right attitudes when you're working with people. You need to tolerate and be able to do so many things when you're working with people shortly. So that's what I mean, that social media be a great distribution channel, but it will never be run independently in its own way.
Okay.
I look at it, like you said, someone, you invited them and they said, Instagram, I'll post something, I'll have 100,000 reach. Yes, it's reach, it's extended reach. And I believe even the TV stations, they still have their audiences and people still revisit that, and that's why they're still operating.
Okay.
So it's a matter of time, and people need to have the right balance to communicate and use the right strategy. Because all are required anyway. You can just knock out people and use technology.
Okay. Yeah. I'm actually worried for what we call influencers, because we saw a lot of research has come out in the past few months where an influencer was sued by a company because they did not deliver. 100K followers does not guarantee 100K sales. So there is that. Yeah,
people need to understand the basics of education and the basics of understanding pipelines and conversions. Even if you send a post to 100, you have 100,000 followers. There are things called the edge rank and reach. There's the organic reach. Maybe you reach 10% or 20% of your audience.
Yes.
Ideally, because not all of them are logged in at the same time. Post relevance to a certain people because it showcases based on interest of the profile of the other user. So it doesn't mean it's a shilling for a shilling. It means you have to be more strategic, and that's why I said this is a channel, but you also need the other distribution channels, which social media is one of them, and you can go to Facebook or Twitter, but also TV, radio, and billboards and whatever will communicate based on what you want to achieve.
Okay. Yeah. Speaking of which, I have to share this with you. So there's an artist. He's a Christian artist. He has a billboard on Thika Road. I thought it was so clever. Wow. I'll tell you after the show.
Interesting.
I'll tell you who they are. But also, when you talked about the work environment that needs to be appealing to the millennials, side gigs. I have not met anyone under the age of 40 who does not have 3 jobs in this Nairobi. So do you think employers should embrace that, or is it the employees, you do it, chini ya maji, then you come do your hours and rush home and do your side gig?
That's a difficult one. However, I would say this. It's really a Kenyan thing, and it's really a Kenyan thing. And maybe not just Kenyan. And I would actually even like to hear what Emmanuel Stick would be on this.
Yes.
He's a boss to many of these guys.
Yes.
What I know is this, that most contracts will tell you to not engage in any business that is in competition in any way to your current job or what they do. For instance, if you're up for a training company, don't go and be training, because you really are somewhat taking business from us, while you should be helping us build the business, because you build the business and it builds you. So having said that, I will say that there are businesses that can be run and not in any way be in conflict with your job.
Okay.
I worked in a place, it was a courier company. This is something very interesting. They would give jobs if they knew, for instance, when we would have a fun day, they would give someone he was actually a manager. He had a DJ console and the things that come with that. He's the person they would give that contract. They'd give him that work. There was a guy that was an electrician. We all knew that was what he had studied and that's what he loved to do. So any jobs, he had a private company on the side, so he would get jobs like those that were not in any way in competition with what the company was doing.
Okay.
So I am not an employer, so I don't know how they feel about that. However, I've seen it work in places like those because they were feeling very valued because the company is actually supporting your growth in a different way.
That's true.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes, Emmanuel.
Yeah, if I have to add on that, so I agree with you 100%, Tony. You know, we really don't need you to be in the same space. You know, that's like literally moonlighting, which is not acceptable. So there has to be following the right virtues, you know, as a business, and you have to follow that. So I agree with you that 100%. However, having said that, in a workspace, like he said, I happened to come to our office some time back. It's an open office. Average age is, you know, like 25 years old, and with this kind of space, you'll find that the key thing that you want out of these people is productivity. Yeah, period. So if you focus on achieving your bottom line and everyone understands what they need to do, so the house is something that you can have a discussion with within the team. So I'll share a simple example that we have within the office. You know, some skills, you know, you'll find someone, I have someone within the customer service team, is very good with communication, assisting people, basically because he's an entertainer and he happens to be an artist.
Okay.
He runs a band. He actually has a band, and he runs performances in the evening or even in the weekends. And we have no problem with that because we can see it helps him in terms of how he communicates. Even when we have quarterly meetings or monthly, you know, town hall meetings, and we have to entertain ourselves, he's the MC, he's engaging and all that. It's part of what he's doing in terms of productivity in his customer service role.
Okay.
Yeah. So you'll find someone who closes tickets really fast, is the best in terms of performance, but here we allow side gigs. So what happens sometimes is that there's a show that is required. It's on a weekday. It's a work day. And he doesn't have to hide it because I also attend his shows to support him.
Okay.
Because I can see him grow in the last 3 years.
This
He's becoming
you.
something else
Yes.
within the industry.
Okay.
So there are things you support, and you find such a person becomes very productive in their work because you are allowing them to grow their passion, and at the same time they're happy to be more productive in the workspace.
Okay. I think it's safe to say millennial trainer, millennial CEO. It's clear. That's it. If you're going to attend my gigs, what? Yes, tell
I
me.
was just going to say, what would happen if I was the employee, if I was Emmanuel's employee, I would be very careful. He supports me so much. I don't want to disappoint him. So I will not do my own things during work hours.
That's true.
I'll make sure that I do not disappoint him because he actually comes to my shows. So you see, if it is managed well, it can actually be helpful.
Okay.
Yes.
So there's the discipline of company time, yeah?
Especially on the side of the employees, there's that discipline that they have to manage. Even if they've been allowed to do those things, don't do them on company time.
Okay.
Yes.
I hear that. Gentlemen, I keep saying we need 4 hours for this show. But Emmanuel, maybe mention a few things that we could see coming into 2019. I'm really excited about the generation, this iPhone generation. What do you hope to see in 2019?
In terms of jobs? Or?
Yes, in the space that we're in, career speaking, looking for jobs, looking for growth, what's likely to happen?
Yeah, so I think the first thing, how I would like to tackle it, because I'm addressing different people, is that everyone needs to do their own personal appraisal, not that company appraisal to tell you, you know, what you've done. You need to do a personal appraisal and say, come on, it's the end of 2018.
Yes.
What have I learned this year? What have I achieved? Where did I go wrong? And then it forges your way forward in terms of what you need to improve on.
Okay.
So, you know, that's a basic thing that has to happen. It could be one thing, it could be 5 things. It's not about the number of things that you've achieved or failed on. It's about, life is about the learning experience.
Yes.
It's the same way the workspace is becoming an area of learning and growth. So we have people who did accounting that have ended up being in sales, and in sales there are various things that you need to learn, and you need to become a better salesperson. For employers that publish their opportunities on Brighter Monday, I expect an increase in trends because we're seeing changes in job titles. You know, you'll find the customer experience leader or manager, or, you know, different roles that are being created. So I still expect a lot of openings or need or demand for jobs within the digital marketing space.
Okay.
You know, that has been growing increasingly in the various capacities, either SEO or performance marketing, or, you know, whatever, in all the various fields. So there's an increased demand in that. There's a big shift. Apart from that, we are seeing specific needs within the companies that advertise with us in terms of, things around human, employee and human capacity. So we still expect that this will be growing. And again, as a country, we are strategically positioned as a hub in Africa. So we're seeing direct flights to the US, and so that's really good. It shows that there's also going to be a lot of jobs opportunities in the hotel industry. If we expect more tourists, and we're seeing the more hotels we have, everywhere you go within Nairobi, you see a different hotel.
Yes.
So that, and other regions within the counties, so that's still a big expectation. And also technology jobs as an incubation hub within Africa. So technology jobs still on high demand, and I expect that will continue next year.
So Tony, you're going to tackle two things. One, I keep having an issue with the universities. I feel like they're not catching up. So maybe talk on that as well in regards to training. They need to be ready for what's coming. We still cannot do Communication 101 that was published in 1985. Not possible. And then also for the millennial who's looking for a job, who's going to get into the job market, what 2019 is going to look like.
So two things. First off, the universities. I took a postgraduate course in USIU that was co-hosted by a university from the US, and we were learning that the academia, they're a bit lethargic in terms of change. So we can start from that point, that changing a whole curriculum is difficult. It takes a lot of work and a lot of time, and I think it costs a lot of money as well.
Yes. Having
said that, I am also equally concerned as you are. In fact, when I'm talking about 21st century skills, which is something I'm really passionate about, is I look at the history that my mom did. It's the same history that our children are doing, the same biology, the same physics, and these are things that, I'm sorry, but these are actually things you can now study online. So yes, there is a great need for there to be a shift. As to when it will happen, or as to whether it will happen, I do not know. But as I go online, I actually found another gentleman who is anti-establishment, and he's training people on acquiring skills quickly. So he has courses that he has designed that help people acquire skills more quickly.
Okay.
So in terms of universities catching up, I think that will take a while. However, they are trying, like Strathmore in particular, they are trying to link with the workplace a lot.
Okay.
So when they link with the workplace, it helps inform some critical changes in what they're teaching, so that you're actually quite relevant. Quite relevant.
Okay.
I will say this, however, that when a doctor comes out of school, they are well trained and they can do quite a bit, but they still need to practice on real people, or to actually do the real work to get experience, and so on and so forth. That is a little different from now the skills that we are talking about that universities do not teach. For instance, a university cannot teach you how to be employable or how to work with people. Employability skills is something totally different that is not taught by the academia.
Okay.
So there is some things that I don't know how they can be able to incorporate those in curriculum, but I think they are trying their best.
Okay.
Does that sort of answer that question?
It does answer the question. There's a lot of work to go into that. We have about 40 seconds, so maybe speak on the millennial looking for a job.
Okay.
Yeah.
The millennial who's looking for a job, they should look for mentors, because they are of a very different generation, and they're coming into a place of mixed generations, and they are finding other generations who have gone before them, who have set up these businesses, who are the ones that are going to employ them, who are the ones they're going to work with. So they, as much as they want to be understood, they also need to understand. It's a complex thing, so no one is more special than the others. We all need to get to a place where we can understand each other. He mentioned collaboration. I mentioned it as a 21st century skill. It's relevant because of the generations. It's also relevant because we are working in a very global workplace.
That's true.
Two, there are more opportunities outside of normal employment, like remote jobs.
Okay.
There are people in this country who are making a life working from home. So that's something else that they can consider as well.
Okay.
I'll stop at that.
Sawa sawa.
Yes.
Gentlemen, asanteni sana. Emmanuel Mutuma, CEO Brighter Monday. We have Tony Washira, consultant trainer who focuses on millennials and emerging trends. Aki, if you've not understood anything by the end of this show, you need to write your goals in November for 2019 so that we come up with a plan. It's going to be on YouTube, so you can rewatch it while taking notes. And also a repeat tomorrow, 8 to 9 on Family TV. Thank you so much for watching. See you tomorrow.